Alright people, we are nearing the end of 2024, and in YouTuber fashion, I decided to compile the most accurate list of the best movies of 2024. Now, as always, I haven't seen every movie, so if your movie is not on here, I don't know what to say. But I always encourage people to make their own list. I'm actually very excited to see what people's lists are gonna be for this year. And with that being said, let's stop the chit chat and let's get into the 2024 movies. My list, starting off with number 10. I never thought I'd be a fan of the series, but man, the Planet of the Apes franchise has been fantastic so far. Granted, the other films were better, but this movie is close due to the story and how it kicks off after the rise of Caesar. Shit gets real, stakes are high, mostly due to the incredible villain Proximus, played by Kevin Durant. And the main character, Noah, man, I personally miss the days where a villain could just be a villain and didn't have to explain how or why he was evil. And man, Proximus is evil. If they are making a sequel, well, I'm hoping it's for the right reasons, because if it ended here, it would be a perfect ending. So if they come back, they need to have an amazing story to continue this franchise. A very underrated movie to a sequel, a highly loved sequel, Furiosa. What can I say that hasn't already been said? The sets are imaginative, just like Fury Road, and the action is absolutely badass. And the standout of this movie, which is Chris Hemsworth, Dementus. Chris Hemsworth is a really underrated actor that should be commended more, especially because of this role. I'd say the only thing that holds this movie back is Furiosa herself. In Fury Road, she's a fierce warrior, just this tank of destruction. And in here, well, she's not. But I get it. It's supposed to be an origin of how she becomes that character. Again, I just couldn't see how that could happen. Other than that, this movie is a really enjoyable movie to see in theaters that I did not regret watching in the cinema. This will be an interesting choice for some people. I enjoyed a lot of the movies in this trilogy, and Sonic 3 does not disappoint. There's not a lot I can say since it's the same as Sonic 2, but it just amps up the humor and the action, which is not a bad thing. It's great that they can keep the same level of quality from 2 to 3. I'm telling you, Keanu Reeves as Shadow is the best cast out of this franchise, and I cannot wait to see more of him in the sequels. Although thinking about it, I wonder how Hayden Christensen would have played that role. Who knows, maybe it could have been pretty good. Or maybe...
Liar! You're with him! You brought him here to kill me!
We should just count our blessings. Now, this movie I never expected to be on my list of best movies of 2024. Hell, I didn't even plan on watching this because I didn't even watch the first one. But the musical segments lined up so perfectly with the plot of this movie, showing the psyche of a villain and how the world / themselves view them, made this movie more enjoyable. And that movie is Wicked. Bet you thought that was another movie that we had to endure this summer. I probably only watched one musical movie a year. Last year it was The Color Purple. Both Ariana and Cynthia played their roles to perfection. Emphasis on Cynthia. She was amazing as the Wicked Witch and brought a new perspective to this character that we haven't really seen in past media. And Jeff Goldblum as Oz was such a great addition to this movie, mainly because he's Jeff Goldblum, and who doesn't like Jeff Goldblum? And so unfortunately, this is the plague of the two-parter. It ends before stuff starts to go down. Man, movies really gotta stop doing that. But other than that, the ending was powerful. Just the swell of the music just shook the whole theater. A sequel to a movie that I thought was overrated kicks into a whole new gear, Dune Part 2. The way this movie steps up its game with visual storytelling and an adrenaline-pumping soundtrack. If there was ever a movie to be deserving on IMAX, Dune Part 2 is one of them. Timothée Chalamet gives a pretty good performance as Paul Atreides. I love his character arc, his transformation from a timid, scared boy to a man who deserves and earns respect. I mean, his monologue is so damn good. I really hope we don't have to wait for Part 3. Now, this choice isn't based off of how good the script is, merely on how much enjoyment I got out of watching. And if you couldn't guess by that vague sentence that this movie was Godzilla vs. Kong: The New Empire, I don't blame you. I have so much love for the MonsterVerse and how they were the only cinematic universe other than Marvel to weave their story into a coherent universe. Of course, there was one bump in the road, but man, this movie met and exceeded my expectations, which honestly weren't that high or specific. All I wanted was a cool mega monster clash. However, like I said, it gives me more than that. We get fewer human characters, and Kong himself has a character arc. Let me say that again. Kong, a CGI character in a monster movie, which usually only focuses on humans, gets his own character arc. Yeah, this movie is way too underrated, and they really stepped it up from the monster fights of the last movie. 4 for me is a no-brainer. Transformers 1 is not only a good movie, but it proves that a Transformers movie can be good and have a coherent story, and we don't have to use the excuse that it's a guilty pleasure. The drama between Optimus and Megatron adds a lot to this story, and their eventual falling out is almost heartbreaking. It also shows a more relatable side to Megatron and the Decepticons. I'm telling you, Brian Tyree Henry is not only an amazing actor, but an amazing voice actor. I cannot wait to see what the animators will cook up for the sequel, because I need to see more out of this universe. After a slew of bad sequels and original movies, Disney finally nails it on the head when it comes to emotional, heartbreaking movies, and Inside Out 2 is one of those movies. The first one, in my opinion, is damn near perfect. I had no idea that this one would come scarily close to it. This time we're following Riley in her teenage years, which we can all relate to. This is the most awkward and weird phase in any person's life, and this movie does not shy away from that point. And I love how they added these new emotions to this movie. It made it feel more realistic to a family-friendly movie. Inside Out 2 is such an amazing, tear-jerking movie with a lot of heart and soul, which is why it's my number 3. All right, we're getting to the real movie. Art films have nothing on this little movie called Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm not one of those people who believe that the MCU is dead. Sure, they haven't been hard-hitting like they have been like the Infinity Saga. But what studio can make bangers for so long? There's a reason why the saying is, nothing good lasts forever. But man, Deadpool and Wolverine is such a refreshing film. Fans have been waiting literally almost a decade and a half to see these two finally join together on screen. And the fact that they did it in a tasteful and hilarious way is just icing on the cake. I have to hand it to Marvel for giving a proper send-off to the Fox universe. Because if it had ended with Dark Phoenix, the universe would even be more of a joke than it already is. Hugh Jackman was, of course, amazing as Wolverine. Hope to see them both in Secret Wars. Now we finally get to number 1. Now, number 1, you're thinking, what can be in number 1? I already put Deadpool in number 2 and all the other movies in different spots. Now, seriously, I think this is a small movie that I don't think anyone saw. Forge just moved me in a way that movies haven't really done recently. What makes this movie so extraordinary is that, at heart, it's a human story. It's about life itself and how hard it can be and how painful it is. Forge shows you how to use that pain and use it and trust in something that is bigger than just yourself. It tells you beautifully that life will knock you down. And out of those dark times, there is light. And you can choose to inherit that light. It's really about choice. We all have a choice to do the easy thing or do the right thing. This is a movie that is not only important for our youth, but for us in general. It inspired me to do more and be more, to be the person that, even whether you're a Christian or not, be the good person that you are, because with the limited time you have on this earth, you can choose to inspire, and that is why it is my number one. Alright guys, so that was my list for the 2024 movies. 2025 seems like there's going to be a lot of bangers, so I'm excited to see what movies I'll be putting on my list for next year. So tell me, what's your guys' list? Let me know in the comments. And as always, drink your water, be safe in these horrible times. Whipping the hat.